On Christmas Eve, CEO discovered a little girl hidden in trash. What happened next is touching. In the bustling streets of Chicago shimmered with festive lights, laughter ringing through the air. But for Michael, the city's CEO of a local charity, joy felt distant. He stood outside his office, fatigue weighing heavy in his heart. This was supposed to be a time of giving, yet his charity barely had funds to support families in need. Especially this Christmas Eve as he walked home, the biting cold of the night air wrapped around him like an unwelcome cloak. Michael's thoughts swirled, exhaustion clinging to him like wet snow. Suddenly, a flicker of movement behind a trash bin caught his eye. He turned, and his chest tightened. There, a frail little girl, no older than 6, clutched a tattered blanket. Her wide, terrified eyes filled with confusion. Lily. The name rolled off her tiny lips, accompanied by a quiver. She had lost her mother, a veteran who lost her job and fought a silent war against depression. Panic surged within Michael. This wasn't just a child in need. This was a little girl trapped in a life too large for her. How had he missed her? How had the city, lit up and festive, overlooked this innocent soul hiding in the shadows? Memories of his own challenging childhood flashed before his eyes. A single-parent home, times when hope seemed out of reach. In his heart, he felt a warmth begin to melt the armor he built around his corporate life. But now he grappled with a gut-wrenching decision. Should he take her straight to his home, wrap her in comfort, or dive deeper into the chaos that had brought her here? His compassion clashed with his obligations. "Lily, where's your mom?" he asked, kneeling to her level. Her small frame shuddered as she told him her story, words barely escaping her lips. Michael's heart broke. He had to find her mother, felt an urgency like never before weaving through the city's chaos. Hours slipped by, filled with unreturned calls and unanswered pleas. Each one felt like a weight pressing further down on his soul. He wandered through the darkness, laboring to push through barriers that seemed insurmountable, watching families bustle around him, dining, laughing, enjoying the life of privilege that felt like a cold slap against his heart. He became painfully aware that the struggles of Lily and her mother were reflections of something deeper, systemic issues reaching far beyond his control. Just as he began to lose hope, a warm glow emerged from a nearby community center. A group of volunteers stirred, laughter and kindness weaving through their gathering. They were assembling care packages and distributing meals to those in need. There, amidst the chaos, Michael felt a spark of determination ignite within him. He joined their efforts, sharing stories and laughter, connecting with souls who understood the power of collective action. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But with every attempt to create a plan to find Lily's mother, doubts crept in. He wrestled with uncomfortable truths, the stark contrast of meritocracy and circumstance, and the looming weight of gratitude he held. Could love, compassion, truly bridge this gap? As midnight approached, problem met solution. Just as he thought they'd turned the corner, a new piece of information emerged: a contact who might know Lily's mother. Would it be enough? Would this fragile thread connect two lost souls before the night faded into the darkness? The uncertainty lingered, leaving Michael poised on the edge of hope and despair. The community center buzzed with a mix of urgency and warmth. Yet as the clock ticked closer to midnight, a heavy weight lingered in the air. Each tick felt like a countdown, marking the dwindling time to find Lily's mother. Michael grabbed a volunteer's arm, his heart racing. "Do you really think this contact can help?" The volunteer, a kind-faced woman named Sarah, nodded, her eyes glimmering with resolve. "It's worth a shot. Let us not lose hope." Just as she spoke, Michael's phone buzzed. It was a text from the contact, a simple name and an address near the west side of the city. The hope that had flickered began to blaze. He glanced at Lily, who had curled up on a nearby couch, wrapped in a blanket provided by a fellow volunteer. Her eyelids fluttered as sleep threatened to take her. "Okay, I'm going," Michael decided, the firmness in his voice surprising even him. He needed to act and do it fast. "Let us know if you find anything," Sarah called after him as he dashed into the night. The streets were eerily quiet, illuminated by the glow of holiday lights that suffocated the chill. He hopped into his car, the engine rumbling to life, and drove with purpose. The address loomed closer, each moment heightening the tension in his chest. Arriving at the rundown apartment complex, his gut twisted. This didn't feel right. He stepped out, wrapping his coat tighter around himself, and walked toward the door marked with peeling paint. It creaked open, revealing a narrow, dimly lit hallway. As he approached apartment 2B, he could hear muffled voices, some arguing, some crying. He raised his hand hesitantly and knocked. The door swung open, revealing a woman in disheveled clothing. Her eyes were filled with pain and confusion, but something flickered in them as she recognized him. "Are you Michael?" she asked, voice tremoring. "Yes, are you Lily's mother?" Panic washed over her face. "Lily? My Lily? Yes. She is safe. I found her, but it's urgent we talk." They hurried inside, the apartment barely furnished, an overwhelming smell of stale takeout lingering in the air. The mother, her face shadowed by worry lines, listened as Michael recounted the events of the night, all while gripping her trembling hands. "I lost my job. I didn't mean for her to." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she choked on her words. "I've been trying so hard. I thought I could make it until Christmas. Just a little longer." Michael felt his heart break for both of them, the mother chasing a fading hope, the little girl hiding behind that same hope. "You can turn this around," he urged, desperation creeping into his tone. "We can help you. I can help you. Come back to the center with me." But the weight of shame held her back. "I don't want her to see me like this. I'm not what she needs." "Lily needs you," he responded, a fire igniting in him. Not a perfect mother, but a fighting one. Finally, he saw something change in her eyes. Resolve began to cut through the despair. Maybe this was the lifeline she needed. But time was running out. They had to move. Time and daylight awaited them. As they made their way back to the community center, hope entwined with uncertainty still filled the air. In that moment of urgency, Michael's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from one of the volunteers. "We've got a problem." What kind of problem could unfold now? And would they reach Lily before it was too late? Michael's heart raced as he read the message. What kind of problem? He texted back, anxiety creeping into his thoughts. He glanced at Lily's mother, still quietly shaking beside him. They needed to hurry. Every moment felt like a stolen breath, weighing too heavy on their shoulders. "Stay close," Michael said to her, trying to keep his voice steady. "Whatever it is, we'll face it together." He thought of Lily waiting, her soft breaths ensuring him she was safe, but still vulnerable in the community center. As they reached the last street corner before the center, Michael's phone buzzed again, this time with a flood of replies. "They're taking her," one said. "The authorities are here," read another. Panic shot through him. The volunteers were suddenly on high alert. "Wait here," he instructed Lily's mother as he turned to run ahead. He dashed across the parking lot, his feet pounding against the pavement like a drum echoing through the night, echoing his rising fear. When he entered the community center, chaos reigned. Volunteers were huddled near a desk, arguing softly but intensely. The light overhead flickered, casting shadows across their worried faces. He caught sight of Lily, still curled up on the couch, but there were shadows looming over her, figures he recognized too well. "Michael!" Sarah shouted as she noticed him, eyes wide. "It's the police. They've received reports about Lily. They're here to investigate." The words twisted in Michael's stomach. "But she is not in danger now. She is with us," he pleaded, breathing heavily while considering how to explain the situation. One of the officers stepped forward, a tall woman with stern eyes softened by a touch of compassion. "Sir, we need to check on her," she said firmly. "We've received multiple calls about possible neglect." Michael's heart sank. Did they already know everything? Was this how it ended just as hope ignited? I can explain everything. We found her mother. She's on her way back right now, he said, urgency thick in his voice. Just give us a moment, Michael, Sarah interrupted softly. Lily doesn't have to go. We can show the officer everything we've done to keep her safe. He turned to look at Lily, still peaceful, blissfully unaware of the tension circling around her. The officer, hands on her hips, raised an eyebrow, surprised by the conviction in Michael's voice. Just as he was about to offer more, a familiar voice rang out from behind him. Lily! Came the desperate cry. Michael spun around to see her mother racing towards them, her face flushed and eyes wide with determination. Stop! The officer called, holding up her hand. Ma'am, please. Lily stirred on the couch, blinking awake. It was as if a shadow lifted from her, and she looked up. Mommy? She called softly. Tears filled her mother's eyes as she took another step closer. Yes, baby. I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was a moment suspended in time. Michael stood frozen, feeling the heaviness of everything that had brought them here collide with this fragile reunion. The air changed without realizing. They were all holding their breath. But before they could reach each other, the officer stepped forward. You need to come with us, we're going to ask some questions, she said gently, still focused on Lily's mother, torn between duty and empathy. Lily's eyes widened, fear overtaking her sleepy confusion. Mommy! She jumped to her feet. Wait! Michael shouted, his voice a mix of urgency and despair. Please, she needs her mother right now. Would they really separate them again? Could anything be done at this moment? Trembling, he turned back to the officer, ready to fight for this family. But would it be enough to keep them together? The officer hesitated, her eyes darting between the pleading gaze of Lily's mother and the frantic look on Michael's face. The silence hung thick, almost suffocating. Time felt stretched, the air thick with unspoken fears and desperate hopes. Ma'am, please, the officer reiterated, softer now. I understand this is hard, but we have procedures. We need to ensure Lily is safe. Safe? Michael echoed, his voice rising in protest. She is safe right now. She is with her mother. You can't take her away again. The desperation surged through him, a raw plea that cut through the chaos around them. Lily's mother took a shaky step forward, tears glistening as she reached out, her fingers brushing against the edge of the couch where Lily had just been. I'll do anything to keep her. I swear. I've changed. I'm here to take her home. Each word was laced with truth, but doubt lingered in the officer's eyes. Michael could feel the crowd behind him, other volunteers and concerned citizens who had come to help. He turned slightly, catching a glimpse of their expressions. Fear, anger, frustration. They didn't know the whole story. They could only see the girl looking so small and scared, set against a backdrop of authority and uncertainty. Michael, Sarah said firmly, stepping beside him, we can prove it. We can show you everything we've done. Just give us a chance. There was an air of urgency in her voice, blending determination with desperation. The officer looked at Sarah and then back at the mother, weighing her options. We can take a moment, she said slowly, her hand relaxing just enough to hint that she might be willing to listen. But if something is off, we will proceed with our protocol. The air shifted ever so slightly, a glimmer of hope adding weight to the moment. Michael stepped closer to Lily's mother, their shared purpose crystallizing around them like a protective shield. We need to make her feel safe. For Lily. Lily, her mother called softly, trying to reach out with words. Look at me, baby. I'm here. Lily's face lit up, a flicker of recognition breaking through her confusion. She stumbled toward her mother, a small body wrapped in so much love and vulnerability. Mommy, she exclaimed, running right into her mother's arms. The hug was instant, a magnetic force drawing them back to each other. The sight tugged at Michael's heart. He couldn't stop the tears that sprang to his eyes. This was the moment they fought for, the reunion, the love, the family. Yet, reality was still looming, tangled heavily with the tension of the impending decision. See? Michael pressed, turning back to the officer, his heart racing. This is where Lily belongs. She needs her mother, not separation. We can't let anything tear them apart again. Just give us a chance to show you." His voice cracked, full of emotion as he sought compassion in the officer's expression. But just as the officer opened her mouth to respond, a different voice echoed from the entrance. "Officer Thompson." Another figure called, stepping through the doorway and catching everyone off guard. Michael's heart dropped. It was the social worker, a familiar face tinged with authority that could change everything yet again. The officer turned to the newcomer, and a wave of uncertainty washed over Michael once more. Would this be the final stroke that severed their lifeline? What could they possibly say now to sway them when all felt balanced on a knife's edge? As the room held its breath, he couldn't help but wonder what this unexpected twist would mean for Lily and for them all. The social worker stepped forward, adjusting her glasses as she eyed the scene before her. Her expression was hard to read. Michael's stomach twisted with anxiety. He had seen the way these meetings went, and every time it felt like a shot to his heart. "Officer Thompson," the social worker said, her voice steady yet firm. "I just came from a meeting with the department head. We need to act quickly. Can't we take a moment?" Officer Thompson asked, glancing back at Lily and her mother, still wrapped in each other's embrace. "I think there might be a chance here. Look at them." "No time," the social worker insisted, shaking her head. "We need to assess the situation and ensure Lily's welfare, immediate welfare, not just emotional." Her words hung like a thick fog, heavy and disheartening. The officer hesitated. In that pause, Michael saw a flicker of willingness to fight for the little girl. "Can't we just discuss this now, just for a second? Let me show you the data we've collected." "I'm aware of the files," the social worker interrupted, the urgency snapping into her tone. "But all those papers can't replace the facts. We have to look to the future, not just the past. What happened before matters." Michael clenched his fists, feeling the pressure building inside him. "But what about today?" he interjected. "Lily is in a loving environment right now. Are we really going to ignore that? Is this just another form to tick off?" Lily, still nestled in her mother's arms, looked between the adults, her innocence clashing with the gravity of the conversation swirling around her. It felt wrong that she should be burdened with these adult decisions. "Mommy," she murmured, pulling back slightly to meet her mother's gaze. "Are we going home?" A pang of hope echoed through Michael. Perhaps there was still time, a window for reason. If only the adults could see the truth in those little doe-like eyes that held warmth only a mother could give, or a loving community like theirs. He held his breath, hoping this would be enough. The social worker's eyes softened in response to Lily's small voice, but she quickly masked it with professionalism. "We need to do what's best for her, and right now that means following the protocol." Michael felt his heart racing, fear swelling up inside him. What if protocol takes her away again? What if it doesn't see who she is now? After everything her mother has done? "Change takes time," the social worker replied, her voice softening just a fraction. "We can't rush these decisions. It's too risky." "Risky for who?" Michael heard himself say, anger creeping into his voice. "Lily doesn't deserve to be a statistic. She deserves to feel safe, to know love without condition." An uneasy silence settled in, wrapping around them like a weighted blanket. The crowd behind him murmured nervously, each face reflecting the confusion and sadness of the moment. Then, Michael heard a voice from behind him. It was Sarah, stepping closer to the front, her resolve firm. "We all saw the change, the commitment to Lily. If we band together, we can prove to you her mother has turned her life around. Isn't that worth believing?" The social worker paused, her brows furrowed as she considered. "It's not that simple," but before she could finish, Officer Thompson cleared her throat, and a new determination filled her voice. "Let us discuss a temporary solution. Maybe we can create a supervised plan? Use the next few weeks to monitor their bond and see if Lily truly is safe. We owe it to her." Hope sparked again, igniting across the room and relieving some of the tension. But with the social worker's expression still unreadable, Michael knew the battle was only just beginning. "Can we trust this plan?" he thought, feeling the weight of all they had fought for pressing on his heart. And as Lily squeezed her mother's hand tighter, he couldn't shake the fear that the weight of their future was precariously balanced on a thread. What would happen if these new arrangements still didn't matter in the end? What further struggles lay ahead for them yet to unfold? The tension thickened in the air, like a storm poised to break. Michael watched as the social worker's expression remained inscrutable, but he could feel the excitement bubbling just beneath the surface. The murmurs among the crowd grew louder, a cascade of worries, opinions, and emotions swirling around them. What if it doesn't work? Someone whispered from the back, their voice trembling. Don't think that way, another shot back, half-heartedly trying to instill some courage. They deserve a chance. Lily's small hand inched back into her mother's grasp, a gesture of trust and innocence. It was a raw image of love and vulnerability, a stark contrast to the harsh realities standing opposite them. Michael felt his heart twine painfully at the sight. He stepped closer, dread creeping over him like vines wrapping around his chest. Can we at least give them a little time together? He pleaded. Let them breathe? The social worker sighed, her shoulders sagging under the weight of responsibility. We can agree to some supervised visits. For now. A collective breath seemed to escape from the crowd, bubbling up as a momentary relief. Little Lily's face lit up with hope, her eyes sparkling with something close to joy. For a moment, everything felt possible. But then reality encroached again. It's not just about visits, the social worker reminded everyone, her voice steady but laced with caution. We'll need regular assessments, and any slip-up will mean reevaluation of this whole arrangement. Michael felt his heart stall. What if they slip? He thought, imagining the worst. The endless cycle: take, evaluate, and return. Lily didn't deserve that, not again. As the group dispersed slowly, murmured discussions bubbling back to life, he caught a glimpse of Sarah's face. Her brows were knit tight, deep in thought. He stepped toward her, needing to share what weighed heavily on both their minds. Do you think it'll be enough? He asked, lowering his voice. I want to believe it is, she sighed, but there are so many variables. We have to be the ones to remind them of Lily's progress. We can't let her be forgotten again. Their eyes met, both understanding the unspoken fear. Time was slipping through their fingers like sand. There existed a fragile balance of hope and despair that could shatter at any moment. When Lily caught sight of Michael, she broke into a radiant smile and waved. The innocence poured from her like sunshine breaking through the clouds. In that fleeting moment, the worries of the world faded into the background. Does that mean I get to see Mommy a lot? She chirped, her excitement ringing clear in the air. I think so, sweet pea, Michael replied, forcing a smile. As long as everyone keeps making sure you're safe. But what if focus on today, Lily, he said gently, cutting her off, unwilling to let her innocence taste the bitterness of possibilities just yet. For now, that was all they could cling to, the promise of today. As they made their way out of the meeting room, Michael felt a wealth of uncertainty alongside their small triumph. The path ahead was still paved with risks and what-ifs, and each day would bring its own challenges. That night, as they retired to their homes, a sense of foreboding settled over him. What would tomorrow bring? Would the plan fracture under the strain? The following day was looming, filled with the potential for joy or heartbreak, the kind of balance that could change everything in a heartbeat. Would they be strong enough for what lay ahead? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Michael found himself staring out into the darkness. A question nagging at the back of his mind: is it ever possible to protect someone you love without losing a part of yourself in the process? Michael's heart raced as dawn broke, the light slicing through his bedroom window like a silver knife. He had hardly slept, his mind swirling with thoughts of Lily and the looming visits. Each second felt like an eternity. He forced himself to rise, slipping into yesterday's clothes, still rumpled from the night before. He made his way to the empty kitchen, where the silence felt overwhelmingly loud. The coffee pot gurgled softly as he prepared his usual morning routine. Each small act was a distraction, a reminder that life continued even amidst chaos. He poured himself a cup, the rich, warm aroma filling the air, offering a moment of comfort. But the nerves weren't far behind. Today would change everything or tear them apart all over again. Would Lily see it as a day of reunion or a march toward uncertainty? He took a long sip, hoping the caffeine would fortify him against the tidal wave of anxiety. Meanwhile, at Sarah's, the energy was frantic. Lily's laughter rang out like a bell, bright and carefree, yet it tugged at Michael's heart. He envisioned her spinning in circles, her hair cascading like raindrops in sunlight. It was intoxicating, beautiful, but dangerously fleeting. He couldn't shake the thought that joy could vanish in a heartbeat. Pressing his palm against his forehead, he reminded himself this was for her, this adrenaline, this hope. He grabbed his jacket, folding it over his arm as he stepped out into the chilly air. The world felt different this morning. Cars hustled by, and the sky boasted a brilliant blue. But Michael could only think of the possibility that hung like a fragile thread. The community center where the visits were set to take place loomed in front of him, nearly buzzing with energy. Parents huddled together, volunteers moved about with clipboards, and the buzz of conversation created a harmonious chaos. Michael scanned the room, anxious to catch sight of Sarah and Lily. When he spotted them, it was like witnessing the sunrise. Lily was draped in a pink coat, cheeks flushed from excitement, her fingers tracing shapes in the air as she spoke animatedly to her mother. Sarah wore a smile that blended joy and deep worry. Lines of tension marked her forehead. In that moment, they were both so full of hope, yet so burdened by the weight of the unknown. "Michael," Sarah called, waving him over. As he approached, Lily turned, her bright eyes locking onto his. "Uncle Michael," she squealed, rushing to him. She wrapped her arms around his waist, and it felt like the world melted away. "Hey there, sweet pea," he said, returning the embrace, the overwhelming relief washing over him. She felt warm and alive in his arms, a perfect embodiment of innocence against everything they faced. "Are you ready to see Mommy? It's going to be a party," she chirped, body bouncing with excitement. He forced a smile, the ache resuming in his chest. "Yeah, a party of sorts." As the minutes ticked by, the gathered families begun to settle into their places. Michael could feel the tension mount, vibrating in the air, a heartbeat in rhythm with his own. When the social worker stepped forward, he felt his stomach twist. The words she spoke were woven with caution, a reminder that these visits were fragile, subject to evaluation. Michael watched as Lily's bright enthusiasm slowly dimmed, her tiny fingers twisting nervously at the hem of her coat. A weighted silence filled the room before Sarah cleared her throat, a fierce protectiveness shining in her eyes. "Lily deserves this. She deserves every chance we can give her." The words pierced the air, igniting a fire in Michael. It was these moments, their shared determination, that solidified their purpose. They were fighting for a reason beyond themselves. As the door creaked open and the first glimpse of Lily's mother stepped through, all thoughts vanished. Michael couldn't look away. This was a pivotal moment, yet he felt trapped, rooted to the spot. What would happen next? Would this feeling of hope shatter or build anew? The air hung thick with possibilities, and it all depended on just one meeting. His heart pounded in his chest as he whispered to Sarah, "Are we really ready for this?" The moment of truth approached, and with it, endless uncertainties crept into his mind. Could they withstand the weight of what was coming? Before Michael could brace himself, the room shifted. Lily's mother stepped inside, her presence commanding attention. It was as if the world outside had dimmed, leaving only the tension that clung to the air. She had the same familiar features as Lily, but her eyes told a different story, haunted, weary, and searching. Michael held his breath, uncertain if he should stand, approach, or simply let the moment unfold. Sarah squeezed his hand, grounding him. He could feel her heartbeat race alongside his. "Lily," her mother called softly, her voice a mixture of love and hesitation. The way she said her name, it brought a flicker of recognition to the little girl, who instinctively stepped forward, each small footfall carefully measured. "Mommy!" Lily exclaimed, her innocence cut across the tension like a knife. She darted forward, feet slipping over the school bleacher floor, her excitement unraveling every emotion in the room. For a moment, Michael's heart soared, then it plummeted. He could see the conflict playing out. The mother's eyes softened at her daughter's enthusiasm, yet a shadow of hesitation lingered, as though she feared the enormity of the moment. "It's okay, baby," the woman whispered, kneeling to catch Lily in her arms. They embraced tightly, and Michael felt tears prick at the edges of his eyes. He wanted to last forever, this moment of pure connection. But what would it mean for them beyond this blissful reunion? As the social worker stepped forward, the reality of the situation put a damper on the warmth. "Let us all take a moment to settle," she announced, her clipboard poised. Michael's heart sank further. This was still just a visit, a fragile connection subject to rules and evaluations. Lily broke free from her mother, running back to Sarah and Michael. "Did you see? I could hug Mommy," she beamed. But there was an air of uncertainty clinging to her words. "Yes, sweet pea," Michael replied, forcing a smile even as knots twisted in his stomach. How could they help her understand that love and fear could exist simultaneously, that joy could be tainted with worry? The social worker began discussing the purpose of the visit, outlining expectations and limitations. Each word felt like a stone in Michael's heart. He glanced at Sarah, whose face reflected the same struggle, the battle to protect Lily from what lay ahead. "Lily needs to know everything is okay, that she is safe," Sarah whispered to him, her voice a declaration of intent. "Promise me we'll make this work," he replied, desperation bubbling to the surface. They shared a quiet understanding, their fingers laced together, resolved. But as Lily's laughter filled the air again, bright yet tinged with vulnerability, Michael found himself wondering if that laughter could withstand the pressures of reality. As the mother leaned in to speak with the social worker, the air shifted once more. Michael turned his attention back to Lily and Sarah. The little girl's face lit up with youthful innocence and unfiltered hope. "Can we play after this?" Lily asked, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Of course," Sarah replied, but Michael sensed an underlying tension. Could they really ensure this happiness would last beyond these walls? Just then, Lily tugged at Michael's sleeve, her curiosity shining like sunlight. What if Mommy can come home?" The question hung in the air, thick with potential yet laced with uncertainty. Michael's heart sank. It was the question that seemed simple but carried the weight of 1,000 complications. Could they offer Lily the stability she craved? Or was this just a temporary reprieve, filled with fragility? Michael glanced back at her mother, still speaking in hushed tones to the social worker, the moment stretching into an eternity. He could feel fear creeping in again, yet he swallowed hard to fight it off. But as he looked down into Lily's hopeful eyes, he realized there was no turning back now. It was time to confront the truth about their family, no matter how hard it would be to grasp. Would they embrace the challenges ahead or let fear steer their choices? The question lingered in Michael's mind as uncertainty crackled like static in the air, leaving them all hanging, waiting for the next turn. The social worker cleared her throat, bringing attention back to the present moment. "Let us focus on what's important here," she said, her tone clipped but gentle. "This visit is just the beginning. We need to understand what's best for Lily moving forward." Michael's heart raced as he listened. What did that mean for Lily? Her mother rose from her conversation, her expression a mix of hope and anxiety. Would she really be able to step back into the life they'd built for Lily? "Mommy?" Lily called, her voice a sweet lilt that broke through the tension. The sound turned all eyes toward her, and Michael felt a tightening in his chest. Lily's innocence wrapped her mother in a moment of safety, but how long would that last? "Let us sit together, sweetheart," her mother said, offering her hand. Lily took it eagerly, her little fingers closing around her mom's. "I missed you so much." The mother's voice trembled. It felt like they were sharing an unspoken understanding. The room held its breath as they settled back onto the bleachers, an intimate bubble encased in uncertainty. Michael glanced at Sarah, whose eyes were shining with unshed tears. "Do you think she knows?" Michael whispered, fear lacing his words. "Knows what?" Sarah replied softly, brushing a stray tear from her cheek. "That things might change." That there's a storm we can't control? It was more of a question than a statement. A raw admission that things were not entirely okay. Even now. Lily giggled, blissfully unaware of the tumult brewing beneath the surface. We can make cookies. Just like you said last time, Mommy. She beamed up at her mother with a smile that could melt hearts. But Michael's heart hung heavy. Cookies. Such a simple joy, yet so fraught with potential heartbreak. Would there be a time when the baking could be about laughter rather than longing? Yes, cupcakes too. Her mother replied, igniting Lily's excitement further. It was a bright thread in the fabric of uncertainty, yet it left Michael stranded between hope and dread. Just remember we have to share them with everyone. Her mother added lightly, though Michael sensed the weight of her words. You mean like Mr. Jenkins? With the big mustache? Lily grinned, and a flicker of laughter traveled around the small group, momentarily lifting the tension. Michael cracked a smile, but it felt like a mask, a way to hold back the storm inside. He turned his attention to the social worker, who was watching closely. It's important for Lily to know her mother is here, but we also need to establish boundaries, she said firmly. This isn't a typical reunion. Each word felt like a cool breeze on a hot day, refreshing yet biting. What does that mean for me? Lily asked innocently, her gaze moving from her mother to the social worker and back. Her little body radiated confusion. Michael's heart broke a little more. Oh, sweetheart, he murmured, opening his arms to her. She slipped back into his embrace, and he held her tightly, desperate to shield her from an uncertainty none of them could fully grasp. Her laughter faded as she clung to Michael, sensing the shift in the air. Am I gonna have to choose? She whispered, each word heavy like bricks in the air. Michael didn't know how to respond. No, he managed, stroking her hair. You're loved by everyone, honey. It's just complicated. The admission hung between them, raw and vulnerable. Yes, her mother interjected, looking directly at Lily. And no matter what, I will always love you. Even if you're not home yet? Lily asked, her innocence stark against the harsh reality. Yes, even if I'm not, her mother said, tears glimmering in her eyes. The social worker's clipboard creaked as she shifted, the sound echoing quietly in the stillness. Michael glanced back at her, uncertainty mingling with fear. He shifted to Sarah, whose strength was palpable next to him. We have to show her that love can prevail through all of this, he whispered, more to himself than to her. Just then, the social worker spoke again, her voice cutting through the heaviness. This meeting is just the first step. To move forward, we need a plan. Michael felt a spark of hope for the first time since the visit began. A plan, he echoed, feeling support surge within him. Maybe they could make it work. Lily tugged at his sleeve again, her eyes wide and bright, pulling Michael back into the moment. Can you help me bake cupcakes? Her smile doused the fear and planted a seed of possibility. Suddenly, everything felt urgent. What if you all helped me? Michael asked, glancing at Sarah and her mother. Could they weave separate lives into a single one for Lily? As they stood together, uncertainty rippling through the air, Michael recognized that the path ahead wasn't clear, but it was there. Could they craft a future with enough love to overcome any fear? With that thought hanging between them, the door creaked and the social worker cleared her throat again, ready to guide them into uncharted waters. Let us make a plan that works for everyone, she said. But was everyone ready to embrace the risks that lay ahead? The sun poured through the windows of the community center, illuminating the space where hope began to bloom. Michael and Sarah, along with Lily and her mother, sat huddled together, their hands clasped tightly. The social worker stood before them, clipboard in hand, but her gaze was softer now. Let us start with what we know, she said, her tone steady but gentler. We need to prioritize Lily's well-being. The visits will continue, and we'll implement a plan to monitor progress, ensuring she feels safe and loved. Lily's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Can we bake cupcakes and share them with everyone? She beamed at her mother, whose eyes reflected both love and determination. Yes, we can bake all the cupcakes you want, sweetheart, her mother reassured her, the warmth in her voice igniting fresh energy in the room. Michael felt a surge of excitement. We could even set up a little event here at the center. Invite all the families to join us. Show them what family means, even in the most tangled of situations. The thought lit a fire in his chest, a rallying cry for community action. The social worker nodded, her eyebrows raised, impressed by their enthusiasm. That essay constructive idea. Community support will play a vital role in the journey ahead. With each word, the tension in the air loosened. Hope rippled through each of them, binding them together in their shared mission. Michael could see the flicker of possibility in Lily's eyes, and it filled him with the urge to fight for this family and for the life they all envisioned. Let us get the community involved. We'll create flyers, put up announcements online. Everyone knows about Lily now. We need them to understand how love can forge a path forward. Sarah chimed in, her voice resolute. Hours turned into moments, and amidst planning and laughter, a sense of unity rooted itself deep within the group. They laughed at Lily's mischievous antics, bonding over shared meals and stories that transcended their individual struggles. In those moments, Michael realized this wasn't just about one little girl. This was about a village coming together as the sun began to set. The haunting shadows in Michael's heart started to shift. He no longer felt the burden of a lone fight. Instead, he felt surrounded by a community that rose to meet even the most daunting of challenges. There was no denying that setbacks could still come. The journey wouldn't always be smooth. But now, it was a journey shared. Finally, as the evening wrapped itself in a cloak of peaceful stars, they stood together at the center, admiring a small display of cupcakes adorned with colorful icing. This is it, just like the stories we share. There's beauty in the chaos. Isn't there? Michael spoke, beaming at both the vibrant cupcakes and the lively laughter ringing around him as nights turned into weeks. The community's involvement grew, and so did Lily's family. Visits continued. Laughter and joy turned into a rhythm pulsing through the center. Michael watched as Lily and her mother shared moments of pure love. A little girl finding joy in her mother's presence once again. It was a transformative experience for everyone. Michael, who once felt weighed down by the needs of the city, now felt lighter. The walls around his heart crumbled as he engaged with each person who volunteered, worked tireless hours, and put their faith into bringing joy back to the lives of families like Lily's. The final days leading into the evaluation period felt almost surreal. Michael couldn't help but wonder how far they had come. He knew struggles still lurked around the corner, but he wouldn't allow fear to fester in his heart. Instead, he chose to embrace love, community, and the beauty of new beginnings. Standing under the vast sky, filled with stars, he whispered a prayer of gratitude. Together, they had ignited the spark of hope, transforming lives through love and connection. He let himself truly believe that Lily and her mother would have a real chance at a life filled with laughter, safety, and a warmth they both deserved. This was their moment as the community gathered to celebrate. Michael looked around, embracing the familial connection that pulsed through the air. And just like that, he knew together they would withstand anything. But this story doesn't just end here. Let us keep sharing the light. You need to subscribe now to the channel to stay connected with the journey of transformation in communities just like Lily's. Leave a like now to fuel the positivity and growth in our stories. Comment below with your thoughts about how love can change lives. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the warmth of community. Don't wait not even one more second to spread that joy.